You can change today. And that's what I'm going to do. But that was a message that I received on March the 5th of 2025. And today is March the 4th of 2026. So that's why I am changing. We each come into the world to develop something, to do something, to give something to the world. And that's always within us. And it develops as we live, and we never know what it's going to be. But then when you hold it back, you're not helping yourself or the world. And I have talked about this often, but I'm going to give it to you today because I'm about to go and do an interview. So I thought I'd tell you first again, because I've said it before. But I was given a quantum philosophy for this time in our world that could change your life, and it could change our world if more people did it. Because we're all humans. We're all the same. We operate the same, and we come into the world with our blueprints, but we also have our past. We have everything that we have been through and everything our ancestors have gone through, and it's in our consciousness. And the way we evolve individually and collectively is by deciding we're going to change, and that's moving to a higher state of consciousness that exists within us. But sometimes we can become afraid of it. We can doubt who we are. We can feel insignificant. We can think we don't matter. And we can also believe that we don't have the ability to change things. But I know that we do, because that's the life that I lived. As you look at the message, which I will give you from last year on March the 5th, you will see a trajectory of 13 years of messages on the 5th that were aligned. And what happened was I developed a different ability, a different skill, as you might as well. We all have different gifts, and they come about in human consciousness at times we don't expect or might even surprise you, which is what happened for me. But I know that it can help so many others because it'll help you become who you're meant to be, and it would help our world move to a higher state of consciousness. There's nothing that's occurring now that's accidental because, see, I was given that information as well, especially what's happening in the United States. And I published something several years ago, but I received all of that information in 2020. Everything is consciousness, and we pass it on to one another, and we develop different ways of doing that. You've heard of people who have developed, back in ancient times, people developed astrology to figure out how we operate as humans. I've never studied astronomy or astrology or any of those things. However, the information that I received from Wilhelm was aligned with all of those energetic changes, which is why I knew why we would be where we are now and what would be occurring in the world. And if you'd listened to any of my channeling sessions, you would have probably heard that. I was not like some of the other channelers who were just giving you kind of ideas that were happening here. I was channeling the universe. I was channeling consciousness, human consciousness. And I was told that what I was given was a blueprint for the new human, for humankind to move to that higher state of existence. But I had trouble accepting that as well, as you may have had trouble accepting what you're here to do. But when more of us decide that we're going to do that and to move beyond our fear, then things change. Fear has been the thing that will hold us back in so many different ways. It did for me, because this was a little too scary to tell people that this had occurred and that I had healed my life, to talk about how that had happened. And I'm 75 years old, and that I know that anyone can do this if you decide that you want to. And that's the thing that has to happen. You've got to decide that that's what you want to accomplish. And that's what I'm doing, because your life does not work when you cannot accept who you become. And I'm saying that because we're never supposed to stay in the same place. We're never supposed to stay stuck in any position that we're in. Otherwise, we don't evolve. And again, that only happens in our consciousness. Everyone won't do that. This is why people will leave this earth before they actually realize who they could become, because they've been programmed to believe in littleness. I had all of that, so I do understand, but my life was designed to move through it so that I could bring this work to the world at this exact time. And it's energetically aligned with my birth chart as well. Again, something I never studied, but now we have technology that gives us more information about who we are and who we could become and how our minds are creative, how we create everything. And then we also have history. You see, because we look at history, we can see patterns repeating. We can see patterns that have happened in our world years ago, 100 years ago. If you look at that, you'll see very similar things occurring now. And that might be why we were afraid. That might be why we weren't willing to own ourselves, or why we could be convinced that someone else was going to give us everything that we wanted instead of us doing it for ourselves. And that's always that internal journey. But I put out something the other day called the curriculum because that's what I was given. The curriculum to guide us through this period and any person to the success they're supposed to experience in their lives and the happiness and joy and peace. That was the ultimate goal, is to develop peace. And I had to be the example. I had to move through all the tragedies and difficulties and challenges of my life and cause healing and mind-body healing and every single other way so that more people could believe that it was possible. That doesn't make me any better than anyone else. It just was the path and the life mission that I was given to help others find what they were given so that more of us could move to that higher state and create a much better world. And I screwed up also. I did so many things that just didn't make sense, and I held myself back, and most of it was financially, as I've said before, because owning this was a little difficult. How could this have happened? But when you keep seeing it over and over again, and when it keeps being demonstrated what it could be, you can't hold back anymore. And I looked at that message for March 5th that I received in 2025. It was there. And then there was also a video that I recorded there. I've done this every day. There was a video that I recorded on that day saying, I used Wilhelm's work for 90 days and this is what it did for me, or something like that. I don't remember, but you'll see it. But I've downloaded all of this. When I said to people that I downloaded the order of the universe, didn't make sense. But now people are beginning to see it as we're seeing what's occurring in our world, because it depends on how many of us are going to remember who we are and that place within us that could be so brilliant if we could love ourselves. That's all that it is. In 2021, when it was first told to me that I had this information, I doubted it. I was told that I received a message on your birthday in 2012. I said that couldn't have possibly happened. And then every person that I met and talked to, it was completely accurate. I had people cry when they heard their message because it gave them confirmation of who they were and why they were here. And that's exactly what I intended to do. And I held back because I didn't understand. And then when I put people in my program, they transformed so quickly. And I go, how did that happen? And that's how evolution happens. When we decide that we'll accept the information and ways of doing something and move beyond our blind spots or what we think that was impossible, then we can do some great things. And I've done all of them. But what I'm doing now is I'm going to fully own the story and fully own what this was, what was given to me. I just did a little chart that said, is this March 5th? Is that something related to my birthday or to my birth chart? They say, yeah, and March 4th, today. And they said it was the reason I felt that I needed to do this today was directly connected to my energetic blueprint, and you have one as well. And that has been so much fun for me to find that blueprint within so many people, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. But I doubted myself, and if it weren't for Lance and Nixie and Jacqueline, who came into this work and started showing me the results of what was there, I said, oh, okay, I've got to keep going now. Everyone's not going to believe this. Many people will stay stuck and afraid because those are the choices that we have. We will stay stuck. We will stay in fear and doubt of what we can achieve. And then it just depends on how many of us continue to do that. And if you look at history again, you can see when that happens. And then we will think that, oh my word, how could these leaders have taken us down the wrong path? It's because we weren't willing to awaken. We weren't willing to own ourselves, and we weren't willing to become authentic. So that's what I had to do today. because I was this introvert, and you've heard it before through all of these recordings, that I hid from myself, and I just couldn't believe this could have possibly happened, but it did. And you come to this place of knowing what is available and what can be achieved, and that is what I know, and that's what I'm giving everyone now. So I'd love for you to check out the work. You can check out the information. We're calling it the curriculum now, because that's the blueprint I was given for any person. Doesn't matter who you are, because it's your consciousness, it's your soul, it's your path that you're meant to follow. And I was given that information. You will see it for yourself. I actually published something quite a while ago saying this quantum philosophy, but most people wouldn't have understood it until they could see what was happening in the world, or start to become a little afraid, as many people are. And I said, I can no longer allow them to do that, because we have a choice. And that choice is you becoming happy, you becoming successful, and you falling in love with yourself. And that's what I was given. You were given something as well, and it's time for you to find it. I will see you all soon, and please share this with others. I'm going to get this to as many people as possible. I'll see you soon.